Sunshine Coast. We're here today with Jess Glasgow from Noosa Council. Jess, thanks for meeting with us.
Nice to meet you.
So, look, we're discussing with Jess today the impacts of road widths and Verge parking up here in Noosa. Now, Jess, is this an issue up here in Noosa?
Matt, Verge parking, I like to say, is actually not really an issue at the moment. Like, our biggest issue at the council is the transport strategies and getting people honestly out of cars and onto the streets with more realistic and forward-thinking transport strategies, park and rides, and try public transport where people can actually get out of the car and walk and get around, because as you'll see around you, Noosa's pretty limited with its space, so we're not that sort of proactive with Verge parking, and it's currently not even really in our Shire as we speak.
Yeah, so it's not something that constituents are contacting council about?
No, it's not something that's... Sure, it comes up, like everything else in council, it comes up as an issue, but currently, there's a lot more bigger items on the agendas right now, rather than Verge parking and certain areas where to and where not to do it, so forth.
And you raise a really interesting point. In some of our recent interviews, it's been discussed that obviously the current road width standards on a state level were moving towards, or had an ideology behind them, of providing an abundance of public transport. And it's interesting to note that that's obviously a path that you guys are going down, even though it's not a predominant issue in the area.
No, you're right. So when you talk about road widths in the current state legislation and the Act, or is it currently what council is doing in new developments and so forth?
Okay, so based on our investigations so far, it appears that the population down within the Sunshine Coast region are unhappy with the width of the road. It's not providing enough parking. People don't have a good understanding of the 3 metre rule, so roads are being blocked, service vehicles, emergency vehicles can't get through. Yeah. So when we've spoken to councillors and a couple of other representatives, it appears that council has, at some stage in the past, how regularly we're still trying to quantify, has made overtures to developers that roads need to be wider. Yeah. And our understanding at this point in time is developers have kind of rejected that. Now, whether they've all gone back through the state court process and the courts have gone, well, the minimum is this, therefore you can move ahead with your current plans. That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, because we have a lot of this, it's state government's fault, it's local government's fault. Yeah. And at the end of the day, state and local government, from our perspective, in investigating for the people of the Sunshine Coast, have a shared responsibility to actually deliver real solutions. So we're trying to work our way through the blame game and kind of ascertain how to enact change that's going to deliver better solutions into the future. And look, it's really interesting that we've come up here to meet with Noosa, because obviously you guys have got a totally different way of doing things. You were mentioning earlier that the entire Noosa region, all of the councillors actually work collaboratively, so there's no divisions.
No, you're right, Matt, no divisions. We all work in the same Shire, so the whole of Noosa Shire is 6 councillors and a mayor. That's right.
Wow. And that's interesting, and I don't think that's something many people, across the coast would know. It's something, that I certainly wasn't aware of. Yeah. It'd be interesting to get your feedback, below here in the comments. Did you know that Noosa Council has a collaborative councillor set up? Because I think it would seem from, and we're big on collaboration, I think collaboration is the way of the future. It would be a more productive way to go, rather than have this adversarial, or at times adversarial divisions where they've almost got to lobby each other for support to move things forward. So look, that's some really interesting stuff. So in terms of public transport, what are you guys looking at up here to kind of move forward? Having more public transport, therefore having a lower reliance on vehicles.
So, you just mentioned before that we're actually not a divisional council, so we don't have our separate divisions per the Shire. So, we do have our sections of the Shire that you could basically call the hinterland and the coast, and the south and the north, and these types of things. So these kind of areas are definitely predominantly, there's a lot of a drive around this area, being Hastings Street and the Noosa Heads core region, being the traffic and the transport and the public transport and the parking, and these type of areas are really the key areas where people want to drive these type of initiatives in transport. But you also go down in the hinterland, it also has just as much as issues with public transport and parking on busy days and so forth as well. So it's how to work those sort of elements together about how can we join. We also talk about there's not enough parking going on in Hastings Street, and there's not enough parking going on in Noosa Heads. But it's like, well, how about the visitors? And we try and direct them to go, well, we've got a beautiful hinterland in Noosa as well that's got umpties amount of roads and car parking and areas that can really, really excel with more tourism and so forth in the future. So it's more about working in those areas about how to get Noosa working more holistic, you might say, because we are very predominantly focused around this particular area.
Which is the tourist, that's the tourist centre.
And this is what people's pay for. So we're trying to drive maybe a few more people out to the hinterland, drive a few more people out to the coastals, the Phrygians and those kind of coastal areas a little bit. And in the meantime, pick them up with some more realistic transport strategies about, buzzing people around through the road networks and so forth. And we've got a beautiful river network as well, with the ferry, up and down the ferry, and really trying to continue the fact that Noosa is a holistic place. We all think about it as all the councillors and the mayor working one region. So we talk about it more about how do we make a transport strategy realistic from Hastings Street to Kin and from Kin to Verge, and we want everyone in between to be able to rotate and get around with buses and ferries and bikes and scooters and electric bikes.
Greatest ease possible.
And our biggest draw card event is we've got a zero emissions. So we're actually working to a zero emissions council by 2026. Yep. So it's called Zen, zero emissions, and we actually have our new buses coming on board soon. So we have the new electric buses coming over. Wow! So from at the moment we've got building our charging stations, and these buses are going to be 100% electric. Wow! And there's 2 of them coming on, and this is going to kind of be showing the world that we can. It's a first step. It's only 2 buses, and it's only just coming onto the Noosa network. Yep. But it's showing that we're forward thinking about where we're going as humans and evolution, and we realise in Noosa we don't have that urban sprawl that maybe they have in the Sunshine Coast, where they have umpties amount of land and they can develop and we can have this argument about roads and urban footprint, not enough car parking and not enough picking up people, but we don't really have that kind of problem because we don't have a lot of land left. We're very much landlocked with state forest, national park, and our town plan is our priority. Like we don't buck our town plan unless we have to. Yeah,
and I suppose that's an ideology that maybe other councils could look at in terms of focusing on proactive management rather than reactive management to issues like this, and maybe have a bit of a mentality that we might have a lot of land now, but it's not always going to be that case. And in a proactive perspective, what's that going to look like when it comes? So coming into your transport thing, for people of Noosa, who I'm pretty sure everyone's heard about it already, but obviously you've got the draft transport strategy that's currently out there. So we'll link that here below in the video. We've had a bit of a look through that. It looks like a very robust range of solutions for the region, or for the Shire. Look, maybe Sunshine Coast Council can learn something from what Noosa Council is doing. Look, Jess, thank you so much for your time. I think we covered everything. Sunshine Coast. That's as it is from Jess Glasgow up here in Noosa Council. We'll continue interviewing some state MPs across the coast, and also another couple of councillors as we move towards how do we deal with road widths and planning. Apparently, predominantly down in the Sunshine Coast Council region. Jess, thank you.
Thank you, man.